Hi, this video is an excerpt from an Answers in Genesis article, and I'll put the link to the article in the video description so you can read for yourself, because I'm only going to read a brief part of the article here. I'm titling this Creation versus Evolution. And so it starts off with the subheading, Does Natural Selection Produce Design? Life is built on information. A great amount of this information is contained in that molecule of heredity, DNA, which makes up the genes of an organism. Therefore, to argue that natural selection and mutations are the basic mechanisms of the evolutionary process, one must show that these processes produce the information responsible for the design that is evident in living things. Anyone who understands basic biology recognizes, of course, as Darwin did, that natural selection is a logical process that one can observe. However, natural selection only operates on the information that is already contained in the genes. It does not produce new information. Actually, this is consistent with the Bible's account of origins, in that God created distinct kinds of animals and plants, each to reproduce after its own kind. It is true that one can observe great variation in a kind and see the results of natural selection. For instance, wolves, coyotes, and dingoes have developed over time as a result of natural selection operating on the information found in the genes of the wolf-dog kind. But the point is that no new information was produced. These variations, these varieties of dogs have resulted from a rearrangement, sorting out, and separation of the information in the original dog kind. One kind has never been observed to change into a totally different kind with information that previously did not exist. Without intelligent input to increase information, natural selection will not work as a mechanism for evolution. Denton confirms this when he states, "It cannot be stressed enough that evolution by natural selection is analogous to problem solving without any intelligent guidance, without any intelligent input whatsoever. No activity which involves an intelligent input can possibly be analogous to evolution by natural selection. Without a way to increase information, natural selection will not work as a mechanism for evolution." Evolutionists would agree with this, but they believe that mutations somehow provide the new information for natural selection to act upon. Can mutations produce new information? Actually, scientists now know the answer is no. Dr. Lee Spetner, a highly qualified scientist who taught information and communication theory at Johns Hopkins University, makes this abundantly clear in his scholarly and thoroughly researched book, Not by Chance. In this chapter, I'll bring several examples of evolution, particularly mutations, and show that information is not increased. But in all the reading I've done in the life sciences literature, I've never found a mutation that added information. All point mutations that have been studied on the molecular level turn out to reduce the genetic information and not to increase it. The NDT, Neo-Darwinian theory, is supposed to explain how information of life has been built up by evolution. The essential biological difference between a human and a bacterium is the information they contain. All other biological differences follow from that. The human genome has much more information than does the bacterial genome. Information cannot be built up by mutations that lose it. A business can't make money by losing it a little at a time. Evolutionary scientists have no way around this conclusion that many scientists, including Dr. Spetner, have now come to. Mutations do not work as a mechanism for the evolutionary process. Spetner sums it all up as follows. The Neo-Darwinian would like us to believe that large evolutionary changes can result from a series of small events in which there are, if there are enough of them. But if these events all lose information, they can't be the steps in the kind of evolution the neo-Darwinian theory is supposed to explain. No matter how many mutations there are, whoever thinks macroevolution can be made by mutations that lose information is like the merchant who lost a little money on every sale but thought he could make it up in volume. Not even one mutation has been observed that adds a little information to the genome. That surely shows that there are not the millions upon millions of potential mutations the theory demands. There may well not be any. The failure to observe even one mutation that adds information is more than just a failure to find support for the theory. It is evidence against the theory. We have here a serious challenge to neo-Darwinian theory. This is also confirmed by Dr. Werner Gitt, a director and professor at the German Federal Institute of Physics and Technology. In answering the question, can new information originate through mutations? He said, this idea is central in representations of evolution, but mutations can only cause changes in existing information. There can be no increase in information, and in general, the results are injurious. New blueprints for new functions or new organs cannot arise. Mutations cannot be the source of new creative information. So if natural selection and mutations are eliminated as mechanisms to produce the information and design in living systems, then another source must be found. Can information arise from non-information? We have already shown that information cannot come from mutations, a so-called mechanism of evolution. But is there any other possible way information could arise from matter? Dr. Werner Gitt makes it clear that one of the things we know for sure from science is that information cannot arise from disorder by chance. It always takes greater information to produce information, and ultimately information is the result of intelligence. A code system is always the result of a mental process. It requires an intelligent origin or inventor. It should be emphasized that matter, as such, is unable to generate any code. All experiences indicate that a thinking being, voluntarily exercising his own free will, cognition, and creativity, is required. There is no known natural law through which matter can give rise to information. Neither is any physical process or material phenomenon known that can do this. There is no known law of nature, no known process, and no known sequence of events that can cause information to originate by itself in matter. What then is the source of the information? We can therefore conclude that the huge amount of information in living things must originally have come from an intelligence, which had to have been far superior to ours. But then some will say that such a source would have to be caused by something with even greater information intelligence. However, if they reason this way, one could ask where even this greater information and intelligence came from. And then where did that one come from? One could extrapolate to infinity unless there was a source of infinite intelligence beyond our finite understanding. But isn't that what the Bible indicates when we read, "In the beginning, God"? The God of the Bible is not bound by limitations of time, space, or anything else. So what is the logically defensible position? Is it that matter has eternally existed or came into existence by itself for no reason, and then that by itself, matter was arranged into information systems against everything observed in real science? Or did an eternal being, the God of the Bible, the source of infinite intelligence, create information systems for life to exist, which agrees with real science? And as I said, you can read more at the link in the video description. The full article is there at Answers in Genesis. Thanks so much for watching.